right. Well, I'm joined by Hannah and Neil. They are the founders of Kavahana that's located in Santa Monica. So thank you both for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks
Hey,
for
Skylar,
having
it's good to be
us.
here.
Awesome. So fill me in on what Kava Nectar is, the history of Kava Nectar, and all of that for those that don't know. Because I didn't even know what it was up until fairly recently.
Yeah, of course. So Kava Nectar is what we serve at our bar in LA. It's a 3,000-year-old drink from the South Pacific Islands and Hawaii. And it's a root drink. So some people think of it as a tea, but we like to think of it as more than just a tea. It's a tea that actually has like real effects. If you've tried it before, it's like very relaxing. It helps me a lot with my own social anxiety, which is why I've been drinking it for almost 10 years now. And yeah, traditionally it's a very like um, community-based drink. People drink it together to celebrate birthdays, holidays, family, and we wanted to kind of create that environment at our bar in LA too.
That's awesome. And yeah, that's what's so cool about it is you can feel the effects, which when I first heard that, I was like, what? This seems so crazy. So it's super cool. So you kind of compare it to more like a tea then.
Yeah,
You
I
were
kind of like
mentioning.
you know how like there's coffee for the morning and then people drink alcohol at night. We want this to be like a third category of something that you drink in between like coffee and alcohol,
I love that.
without like as many of the awful effects of alcohol,
Yeah.
Right.
you know.
And I know like we have the bar experience and a lot of people like drink Kava Nectar for so many different reasons. Like Hannah mentioned, drinking it for social anxiety. Some
Yeah.
people, I think it's something where, with coffee, you have so many different reasons why you drink it, like whether it's to meet up with people and be social or just to be like focused and wired.
Yeah.
Like with Kava Nectar, it's kind of a similar idea. People find like a lot of different use cases for it that help them in their own life, and I think that goes far beyond the bar itself. And you'll see people like, writing papers at the bar or like doing photography work or planning some like cool events. So I think it just like is very cool and multifaceted besides that.
That's awesome. And obviously, Kava Nectar comes with probably all benefits and really no negatives. Whereas with caffeine, you have like, you get dehydrated and you can become very addicted. And obviously, with alcohol, there's tons of negatives of why not to drink.
Yeah.
So, what are
It's
some of the benefits? Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say it's really funny because we have some like friends who drink kava and they're like, I can't quit my caffeine, my coffee addiction, but like I can just stop drinking kava any day. So it's like funny how like yeah like like people like some newbies are like a little nervous about kava because they've never heard of it before.
Yeah.
But it's like it's your cup of coffee in the morning is more addictive than kava, so don't even worry.
Yeah.
Like it is a very safe family drink.
Yeah. And again, with probably no drawbacks. Like, and what are some of the health benefits of kava? Obviously, you mentioned like it does help with anxiety. Are there any other health benefits to it?
Do you want
Yeah, so I think a lot of people, especially when we see like our bar experience, they tend to think of it as just like that short term, like nice feeling that like we're all kind of used to it now.
Yeah.
But I think for the long term, like people do enjoy drinking Kava Nectar for just long term, like overall contentness in your day-to-day life. That's one of the reasons why we launched like a balance edition, which is like our purple bag of Kava Nectar. Each
Yeah.
different type of like Kava Nectar we have is made with different cultivars of the plant. So similar to like wine with different grapes, so it make like a Chianti or like a Bordeaux wine. With kava, different plants actually produce like different effects. And so with that comes like different kind of benefits that come with each different like cultivar of the plant. So it's kind of getting into it a little bit, but I would
Yeah.
say just generally speaking, there's the good short-term feeling and then like the long-term effects, I would say, helps me personally with anxiety, helps a lot of people stop drinking alcohol,
I can see
which
that.
I think is fantastic.
And then
Yeah.
like our Kava Nectar Relax edition, like my dad drinks it because he has insomnia and it helps him
Oh,
sleep.
okay.
So and then we also have some bodybuilders that come to our bar and they buy bags because they say it helps them like post-workout recovery. And they
Oh,
say it
wow.
helps
Okay.
with inflammation. So yeah, a lot of different benefits to it, which is very, very awesome. And the different cultivars have very tangibly different effects, which is pretty cool.
That's really cool because I've only ever tried the one that you guys have in the green bag. I haven't tried
Yeah.
the other two yet. And so then that's one of the questions I had too, is all kava created different or created the same? Are there different kinds of kava? So you already kind of answered as far as there's like a couple different kinds. So,
Mhm.
but if people say who don't live in LA and they're like wanting to try kava, I believe they could order yours online, but like, is there something that they should look for? Like, or is it pretty much all created equally?
Yeah, that's a really great question because kava nectar is very different from other kava that you can like buy on Amazon or wherever else you buy kava.
Yeah.
um, it's kava nectar, and the reason why we say nectar is because it's the juice, the nectar of the kava root. Um,
Okay.
so, like to back up a little bit, other kava that you can get online, you can either get like kava drops or tinctures or capsules,
Okay.
which is made from kava extract, which is kind of like caffeine pill versus coffee. We serve the coffee. Kava pills are kind of like the extract, the coffee, the caffeine pill. And
Okay.
then there's also like traditional kava that you can buy online, which is basically ground up kava root that you have to knead through like a mesh strainer for about 15 minutes before drinking. Because
Okay.
it contains like all the root fibers and you just don't want to be drinking that. So you have to, that's like the traditional preparation. Um,
Okay.
which is kind of hard for like beginners,
Totally.
to kind of like
Like,
understand what tools, what measurements, how much water to use, how should I be squeezing it. So that's where we come in. Kava nectar is pre-strained fresh juice of the kava root. So the kava root, once it's harvested, is nice and juicy. The roots are cold pressed, and then that juice is dried, and that's what kava nectar is. So you don't need to knead it or anything like that. You just mix it with water and drink.
that's amazing. I love that. Well, and yeah, I didn't even really know the full difference. So yeah, I can see why then the nectar would be much easier to make at
Yeah.
home or even in like, your bar setting than having to knead it and go through all of that.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. And some people say it tastes fresher too, and it has a little bit less of that earthy taste just because it is the fresh juice. So we really want beginners and people who've never heard of kava or kava nectar before to really enjoy the product and really have like a nice low barrier to entry to trying it.
yeah.
So yeah.
That's so cool. And yeah, I remember the first time I tried it at your bar and they were like, "Okay, well, it's going to have an earthy taste." So in my mind, I was like, "Well, how earthy?" I'm thinking like chaga
I,
mushroom or something, which I'm not a huge fan of, but to me that tastes very earthy. So I'm like, "Okay, that was like the expectation I had." And I was like, "Oh, this is like not really earthy at all." Like to me it was like slightly earthy and I think I had gotten like a triple. So I thought like, it was pretty strong, but I was like, no, I didn't think it was that earthy. But I
well,
could
that's
see how
good.
the other way might be more so.
Yeah.
You could handle it, which is I think I remember like maybe even serving you that one time or me like
Okay.
telling you directly because
Yeah.
yeah, we make it we always are like very upfront about the expectations like this is gonna taste very 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 earthy, but that's okay because that just reflects like the natural purity
Yeah.
of the product. It's there's no fillers, there's no like any like extra added ingredients. It's literally just like the cold
Yeah.
pressed juices of the kava root that has been transformed into a powder.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
the bottom line too is like before we came around, I mean, I think it was very difficult to find like kava as a beverage outside of the Pacific Islands or Hawaii.
Yeah.
Whereas like, you could get kava
At like
as
Whole
a as
Foods. Yeah.
exactly like as a
Okay.
tincture, but it's
Yeah.
just so it's like it's such a different experience to have your morning cappuccino rather than like a caffeine pill that you use. So we're
Yeah.
introducing like the cappuccino, I think, to more broader audience, and that's what we just genuinely enjoy more. And I think Kava Nectar has always been like a holistic experience that you can like really like feel. So that's why
Yeah.
we love doing it as the drink version.
That's awesome. And I think that's why I'm so drawn to it because obviously I'm very much into holistic health. I do nutrition and so I'm like something that you can feel that's not alcohol, that's not caffeine because I don't drink alcohol and I don't drink caffeine, but to be able then to go and enjoy something and get a little bit of that like social feeling without again like I said all the drawbacks is I think why I was so drawn to it. So I loved that you guys opened something like that in LA because there isn't anything like that here and there is such a wave now of people who are kind of pulling away from drinking and not wanting to do that anymore. So like to have a place like Kavahana to be able to go and enjoy a drink that's not alcohol and socialize and stuff, I think is such a smart idea.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's exactly kind of what we envisioned.
Yeah.
Like I went to school in the East Coast, and then There were like a few kava bars around there, but then I came back after graduating and I was like, wow, there's really nothing to do here except for drink at night. So, I was like,
Did you
okay.
guys grow up in LA?
Sorry?
Did you guys grow up in LA?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up like a little bit north of LA, like in Thousand Oaks. Not many people know about it, but it's a nice
Okay.
town.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Thousand Oaks. Okay, very cool. So yeah, so you guys definitely saw then the need for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Is there such a thing as having too much kava nectar?
Yeah, that's a good question. We get that question a lot. Nothing like if you're drinking alcohol and you drink too much alcohol, like you won't like, end up in the hospital or anything like that. It's much more like you just kind of get a little sleepy and you take a really long nap is what
Okay.
happens. Yeah, in the islands, like some people drink gallons of kava. I wouldn't
Oh my
recommend
God.
it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can be done.
Yeah.
We always promote moderation, but it's not gonna like it's really just kind of like it's like just
It'll
getting
just get
really
you sleepy, yeah,
really
and super
really
relaxed.
relaxed. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think for me and for a lot of other people, something very unique about Kava Nectar is it's kind of naturally like you stop when you feel good, whereas I think a lot of other things you kind of just want to keep going. And obviously this depends on person to person, but with Kava
Right.
Nectar, I've never found that I've like overdone it, which I think is super cool. Yeah, so that's just something unique that I've noticed personally, and I think you probably noticed that as
Yeah,
well.
your
You kind of,
body kind of just tells you like, you know what, I'm feeling
I'm
good.
good, yeah.
That's so interesting. And it makes sense. So I talk a lot about fruit, and the question I get a lot is, can you eat too much fruit? Is it possible to eat too much fruit? And I'm like, in theory, you could, but
Yeah.
you'd really have to commit to like overeating for a while to like, you'd be so sick you've eaten so much fruit. Because obviously fruit has fiber and things like that. So it'll tell your brain when you're full. So it's very hard to overdo it. So I could see why with kava nectar, again, because it's natural, it's coming from a root of a plant, that it would be very hard to overdo because your brain will probably receive this signal of like, hey, we're good, we've had enough. Like
Exactly.
that's a
what
really
most
good
real
analogy,
foods do.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I can't imagine sitting there and eating a full watermelon like myself. So that's a good analogy. We got to use that at the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should. Because again, all the fibers and the waters too in fruit also fill you up. And so it does. It tells our brain, okay, we're full. We've had enough. So so I can kind of see the train of thought then as far as having too much kava being not like, again, in theory possible, but not likely.
Right.
So yeah. And another question that my friends and I have talked about, which, we didn't know the answer because we don't really drink, but can you mix kava and alcohol?
Yeah, we wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
Not from like a danger standpoint, but more so just like not a great feeling. Anecdotally, people have said it just like makes the bad parts of alcohol a little more exasperated. So yeah, I mean, we just wouldn't recommend it.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just some things are naturally like meant to mix that well. Like personally, I don't like cream cheese on sushi, and I feel like that's just, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I think it just anecdotally speaking, it's always been a situation in which like it kind of makes like the negative effects more pronounced of alcohol, but it's not gonna like really, it's just kind of like that anecdotally speaking.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like obviously then the alcohol would ruin what the kava is trying to do.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I like to say this a lot, and I've heard this from customers too. But like kava nectar is really what alcohol wishes it could be. Like what you want from alcohol, like the social feeling a little looser, connecting with people. You get that from kava nectar. So people who drink kava nectar are like, well, there's nothing really I want from alcohol anymore. So yeah, it solves that kind of like want that a lot of people are desiring from going out and drinking alcohol.
I love that kava nectar is what alcohol wishes it could be, because everything you said, I mean, I've experienced it. A few weeks ago I was in and had my friend and I, we had some kava. We were celebrating my birthday, and then we went out to go dancing after, and it was like we were like, yeah, who needs to go dancing with drinks anymore? Like we'll just go to kava and then go dancing after.
Exactly. It puts you in a dancey mood for sure.
Yes, yeah, it was definitely a great combo. We were very stoked about it.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad you
That's
had some
awesome.
like real like you're like our testimonial right there.
Yeah. So why did you guys both decide to start Kavahana? You kind of touched on that already, but kind of talk me through like your inspiration and kind of how that all came to be. Obviously, you noticed that there wasn't any kava places here on the West Coast. So
Yeah, for sure. I've been drinking it for almost 10 years at this point because it's helped me so much personally. And it's just helped me kind of feel like, why I don't really need alcohol to like have fun and connect with people and have a good time. And I feel great the next day too. So it's like, oh my gosh, like why am I even drinking at this point anymore?
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I was like, this is such an amazing alternative that so many people haven't ever heard of. And I think it would do so well, especially in LA, where more and more people are trying to find alternatives or drink less or just have something different to enjoy with their friends. So yeah, so I started Kavahana with Neil. I introduced Neil to Kava in Hawaii actually a few years ago.
that was so cool.
Yeah, you can
Yeah,
kind
and something really cool about kava, like not a lot of people know this too, because kava has been introduced in so many different forms here in the US, but it's actually the national drink of Fiji, and you're gonna see it in Moana too. Like it's literally in the movie, which I think
Oh,
is
so
really cool
cool.
because you've never really seen it in pop culture until now. It's starting to like pop up, which is awesome. So I have Indo-Fijian family, and this drink has always been around.
Yeah.
Just everyone who you might know or who anyone might know who's Fijian, this is just a drink that you kind of grow up with. And it's really just had like as a family, as like a really nice community, social oriented thing. So we just thought like this is a wonderful drink and it helps so many people. Why not try and, bring it to more people to enjoy?
Yeah, no, that's such a good idea. And kind of as you were saying, how it's, been used for so many years in, different, in like Hawaiian culture or Fijian culture, like you said, it's kind of reminds me how caffeine was once this ancient beverage that was kind of rare and enjoyed. But again, going back to the fact that kava doesn't have the downside. So, but it's very neat that it has been around for so long. But yeah, it's just less well known than caffeine. So,
Yeah, kind of like cacao too. Like it was a
yeah.
ceremonial drink, and now it's still enjoyed in like a ceremonial environment too, but also kind of in like a social environment as well.
Yeah.
So kind of mirrors that introduction into the Western world, I think. Yeah.
Definitely. So cool. So what are some of your hopes for Kavahana and as you kind of look to the future? Because how long have you guys been open? It hasn't been that long yet, has it?
Yeah, since February, so it's only
Okay.
been about 7 months, so we're fairly new, but
Yeah.
Yeah, but we did
yeah.
start as a pop-up. We started as a pop-up about a year ago in the summer of 2023.
Okay.
We were serving kava at underground raves in LA,
Oh my gosh,
which
so
was very
cool.
fun. That was actually our very, very first like kind of event. So we
So
started
cool.
at those raves because there were so many. There's a huge population actually of sober ravers who just like love going out, but just don't love, taking really hard drugs or drinking a lot of
Yeah.
alcohol. So it was really actually well received for that audience. And then transitioned to farmers markets, and then we transitioned to food markets, and
Yeah.
kind of went to like the wellness world for a little bit. And I think we're really, it's just like we've seen from all of these transitions that it's something that's not just for one group or population. It's something
Yeah.
that everyone can genuinely enjoy.
That's so cool. That is neat that, yeah, you went to all these different groups. And it's funny you mentioned the rave thing. I have a few clients who are very much into like raves, but they don't drink alcohol and they're very much into nutrition and health and stuff. So I totally can see that. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So
Recommend
yes,
it
you
for
haven't been open for not even a year yet, but you kind of you were already testing it out then before you were like, okay, yes, we really want to make this into like an actual location and bar.
Yeah, absolutely. And our hopes for the future are like, that Kavahana, our bar, doesn't become like, oh, this cool thing that you can go visit, and it's like, oh wow, like something new that I'd like to try. It's more kind of like ingrained in the culture of like, all right, if I'm going out, like you can go to an alcohol bar, or you can go try Kava Nectar, and you can hang out and have more of a chill lounge night. So we want to kind of bring that to the city of LA and hopefully more cities as we grow.
Yeah, I know. I would love to see you guys expand. I think that would be amazing. Obviously, it's very early in your stages for that, but I think that would be awesome. And like what went into like designing the bar, because the vibe is amazing. Like I have to say you guys have really like created an amazing vibe. So what kind of was your thought process into creating the space?
Yeah, 3 words: bikini bottom chic. That was,
I love that.
We're like, what
and
would SpongeBob and like the gang go like hang out at night? That's kind
Yeah.
of the vibe. Like we grew up watching SpongeBob, and I always thought about places that I just genuinely enjoyed. Like I liked going to bars that were like low lit, but they were like I thought they were overly serious. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like just way too
Yeah.
serious, not as like fun. And so we wanted to have something that was like somewhat like low lit for the nighttime, and also like if you come in the day, you're gonna hear like a totally different vibe. Definitely bikini bottom chic.
Yeah.
we play a
So
lot of SpongeBob music.
Oh
we
no
do, yeah.
way. That's so cool.
Yeah. And so we just wanted to have some like lighthearted fun that's not too serious, that you have really fun board games there, that you can enjoy, and not just doesn't take yourself too seriously, just enjoy
Yeah.
yourself.
And we have a lot of events at night too. So we have like karaoke nights. We have
I saw that. I want to go one night.
yeah. Oh, good. You should.
Yeah,
Because I
karaoke
haven't been
can.
yet, but I want to go.
And we have a comedy show on Wednesdays too. So we love like
That's so
ingraining
cool.
ourselves in the community. It's not we
Yeah.
just don't want to. It's not ever gonna just be just like this one experience that you can go to and you buy once for a drink. We just want it to be part of like of everyday life.
Yeah.
You can go to a bar for this reason. You can go to a restaurant for another reason, and you come to Kavahana to enjoy and chill and relax with your friends.
Yeah, and another thing that went into like the design of the bar was I I don't know, with social anxiety, it's very hard for me to approach like kind of unapproachable places. A lot of
Yes.
bars are like a little like I don't know, a little scary to me to go into.
Yeah.
Maybe they aren't scary, just maybe that's just internal, but like very, very dark with like a bouncer outside. And so I kind of wanted our place to be bright and not as unapproachable as like other bars. I wanted it to be really inclusive. That's why we have like games and we have, um, I don't know, just like if you've been in there, so you kind of know it's like we wanted our bartenders to be very friendly and very welcoming because to something that you don't know, or for something that you don't know, like Kava Nectar, you're already a little bit like apprehensive about it, and we don't want to make it even more apprehensive by making like a very dimly lit, scary kind of bar vibe. So we want it to be as approachable in every way as possible, whether it's the service or the decor. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I can say you definitely have achieved that. Like everyone who works there is so nice and so friendly and like so knowledgeable. Like they can answer any question about Kava Nectar, and the board game thing I think is such a fun touch that you have that whole like cubbies of filled with board games because that's so fun. And it's like I've been during the day and I've been in the evening, and the vibe is definitely different depending. I do love the night vibe. I have to say it is very cool. But I like, again, I've been craving somewhere to go at night that's fun and sociable, that's not a bar. And so I think, like I mentioned, you guys really kind of mastered that. So you thought of everything, and I think that that's amazing. So
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And also a tip for anyone watching, look in the bathroom on top of the cabinet.
yes,
Yeah.
Surprise.
I won't give it away, but I'll say yes. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
As
it's
you
so
can see, a
cute.
little bit of quirk in our decor.
Yeah, I would love that. And so, so your menu of like coffee? I mean, your menu you have offer a ton of things because you do also serve coffee as well, and you even have a drink that has coffee and kava. Or wait, no, I'm thinking coffee and coconut water actually, which is not a kava drink. But I will say, I saw. I think you even posted it on your social media that it was the young coconut, and then you poured like espresso or the Kona coffee in there, and I was like, oh my gosh, I thought that was such a creative idea that I had tried that at home one day with some decaf coffee,
Yeah.
because I was like, I wanted to try what that tasted like, and I thought it was amazing. So is that like a traditional like thing to do with coffee and coconut water, or was that something you guys came up with?
Yeah, we came up with it, and then our most popular drink actually is it's called the Kavahana, and it's where we put kava nectar into a fresh young coconut.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason why we do that is because like in Hawaiian culture, actually, it's pretty popular to mix kava with coconut water. So we kind of
Okay.
wanted to like put the Kava Nectar in the fresh coconut to take it a little bit of a step further.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite drink because it doesn't like it still allows you to taste like the essence of the Kava Nectar without like the intense earthiness that some people think Kava Nectar has. I mean, you and I like we're used to earthy things, so it's like
Yeah.
not too bad.
It's
But
hard for a lot of people, but I think the coconut just
yeah.
mixes perfectly well in a way that doesn't really mask it, but kind of enhances that earthy
Hmm.
taste. In the same way that you would like the crema of an espresso, it's kind of like that for the
Yeah.
coconut water and the Kava nectar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
But yeah,
awesome.
during the oh, sorry, I was just gonna say during the day we do serve like Hawaiian coffee, and then we serve ceremony matcha too. Just so
Okay.
that, during the day you can have your Kava Nectar, and if you're working from our bar, from our patio, you can also get your daily coffee fix. Because we know if you're addicted to coffee, you need it no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to break that addiction for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. But I love the young coconut with the kava. And so I had mentioned earlier, I have some of your guys' kava here at home, and that's how I prepare it at home. I keep young coconuts on hand because I love coconut
Oh my
water. It's
gosh.
one of my favorite things to drink. So I'll mix it, and then I actually add a little bit of like pure maple syrup to it just to add a little bit of sweetness. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of like a fun little combo.
Yeah, I'm sure the maple syrup is amazing in there to add like a little bit more of a treat feeling to
Yes.
It
it.
sounds like a good fall kind of like spin in our drinks too, like adding some
Yeah.
maple syrup for like
You
our
should.
cocoa.
We
Yeah, it's a good
will.
idea.
Yeah.
There's like a fall special item for you guys.
Yeah, I love it. Maple Kava Nectar. All right,
Yeah.
go into the
Yeah.
drawing book right after this.
There you go. So how do you come up with some of your kava drinks? Because you have like some amazing combinations. Like I think is your most popular one. I think it's called the Beach with the blue spirulina in it, which
Yes.
that one's great. I loved the rose one you guys had for a while. That one was really good.
Yeah, we just introduced a new flavor to mango lassi, and I think the answer to your question is we draw a lot upon our like own backgrounds, our culture.
Okay.
So mango lassi is kind of from Neil's wheelhouse. He
Okay.
grew up with the drink.
Yeah,
Oh
if you haven't, if anyone listening has never tried mango lassi, it's like this really thick like yogurt mango drink that you would have in India or like any Indian restaurant. They'll also serve it, and it's like really delicious. It's a little bit on the heavier side because there's so much yogurt, but it's like
Okay.
it's an incredible treat. And we actually made it plant-based, and it tastes. You're not going to be able to tell unless we told you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's just how good it is. It just mixes well with the kava nectar. But going along with what you were saying with
Yeah, I
drinks.
think I just like I'm a foodie at heart, so
That's fun.
anytime I go to other restaurants or coffee shops, I look at kind of like the drinks that they make. I look at like unique flavors that they use, and I'm like, all right, that's interesting. And then I go and I spend like all night, kind of tinkering away in my mad scientist kitchen, and yeah, and come up with a drink. So that's kind of our process. It's not structured at all. It's just
Yeah.
really like if I get a stroke of like, oh, that's an interesting flavor. I bring it to our bar and see if it works out.
That's awesome. What's your favorite one that you've come up with? And maybe it's even on the menu already, or maybe you haven't put it on the menu yet.
Yeah, I would say our ube coconut is
I would
probably
try
my
that one.
favorite. Yeah, because I grew up with like so many ube desserts, and it's one of my
Okay.
favorite flavors.
Yeah.
So that's probably one of my favorite, and I probably one of the ones I would say is best for beginners or first
Okay.
timers because it
Yeah.
hides the taste of the kava nectar so well. So yeah, it's great for first timers and just people who love ube.
Awesome. The other thing I realized we didn't touch on is how kava has like a reverse tolerance. So you guys should talk about that because I know I mentioned when I first had one, I got like a triple, and everyone was probably like, "What are you talking about?" So we should talk about that.
Yeah, it's funny because like when you go to a bar, it's like your 21st birthday, and like the bartender is gonna be like, "All right, get a triple, quadruple shot for your first time trying alcohol."
Yeah.
You'd be like, "That's crazy. Why would you do that?"
Yeah.
But with Kava Nectar, it's totally the opposite. So the first time you come into our bar, we always recommend a double or a triple shot your first time. And the reason for that is because your first time, you kind of have to get over this thing called reverse tolerance, which is very unique to kava root, where you don't really feel the effects as much your first time or not as strongly. Some people don't feel it at all, but I'd say like probably a good 80% of people at our bar feel it the first time, which is good because our
Yeah.
kava is really strong. But yeah, and the way it works is at the beginning you need more to feel it, and then as you keep drinking it over time, you need less and less. So a lot of our regulars, they come back and they only need a single shot now. I've been drinking it for, almost 10 years at this point, and I can feel it after just a sip of my drink. So it's very tangible, very real. It's very bizarre,
Yeah.
but that's just the way this wonderful plant works.
No, nobody really knows kind of where that comes from.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hana's totally right. For me, it's like less than half of a sip, and then I'm already immediately feeling some of the relaxing effects of it. And some of the bartenders will also be able to reaffirm that too. It's like you have like a sip of it during the shift, and like wow, I'm talking to so many people all of a sudden. So I don't know how far you are at this point, but potentially, you're building up that reverse tolerance.
Yeah.
That's the
Well,
best.
I can usually feel it after like a drink now, like a sip or whatever. And I felt it pretty quickly my first time. And being in this like, I don't know, I have a very like nutrition mindset. Sometimes I was like wondering, I wonder if like depending how clean someone eats to how processed someone eats, if that affects how they can feel it. Because, in theory, if someone's eating a pretty high processed standard American diet, I would think it would take a lot more for them to feel the effects of something like Kava Nectar versus if someone eats a pretty clean diet, very minimally processed, they probably can feel it a little bit
For
quicker.
sure. Yeah,
I was like
anecdotally, we've
reflecting on
noticed
that.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, and like some people say, like if they've eaten a cleaner diet, or if they don't eat at all before they drink it, they can actually feel it more. So what you're saying does hold some truth to it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So yeah, I was thinking deeply. So it was nice to kind of bounce
cool.
that off you guys.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, this is also, I mean, again, it's also fascinating to me. Kava's like, again, I recently discovered you guys probably shortly after you opened, and it's just been so fun learning about it and watching your social media. I think how you guys have gone about your social media is amazing. Like the videos you post, they're great. Like I think you guys are on TikTok as well. I'm not on
Yes.
TikTok as
Yes.
frequently as I am on Instagram, but I've seen your reels and I would imagine they're the same as on TikTok, but they're great and they're so informative and so they've been helpful. I can send them to friends and be like, okay, I want to take you here. We need to go here. This is what Kava Nectar is. So you made them so concise and so perfect. And again, they're such a hook to get people like interested. Oh, okay, what is this? So good job on that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think the main thing is just like our whole brand is really just education because you don't know what you don't know, and
Yeah.
you're sometimes nervous or apprehensive about things you don't know. So our whole goal is to make you know.
Yeah.
Make you know in a very approachable way, which is why
Yeah.
the social media is that way, and then why the bar is so like comfortable and relaxing to be in too.
Yeah. And I can totally see that. So yeah, your social media has achieved that as well. One other question I had, has there been any surprising like struggles in like opening the bar and, spreading the word about Kava Nectar that you were kind of like, oh, I wouldn't have expected us to be dealing with that.
Yeah, I think just generally having like a brick and mortar business is always going to be challenging because like
Yeah,
there's
of
day-to-day
course.
things that happen. Sometimes something in the kitchen explodes, which is like something universally felt
Yeah.
across all restaurant owners.
Yeah.
So we've both become like handymen, like in like working and fixing stuff. Occasionally we get graffitied, which is always sad to deal with. But then it's
Yeah.
also very inspiring because we kind of like we post it on our social media. We have like a really like wonderful engaged audience, and they see something like that, and then they want to support us. So
Oh, that's
we're
great.
really, really grateful for our audience and for the people that genuinely like, love coming in. But I think, yeah, just having a brick and mortar is one of the hardest things that I think, you could do professionally. There's a lot of hard things out there. And this one is just hard because, you're dealing with a physical space. You're in an area, especially with our area in Santa Monica, sometimes with the graffiti that happens, and sometimes people rip out our plants, which is so
Yeah.
sad, but you
Yeah,
just gotta
that's so
keep
sad.
going.
But the on the flip side, having a brick and mortar, in my opinion, is the most rewarding, fulfilling thing you can do as an entrepreneur because
Yeah.
you're physically like touching people's hearts. Like when you're giving them a drink and they drink it and they're like, "Wow, I love this," or I feel so much less anxious," or "I feel so relaxed." Like you're actually making someone's day better, and you can literally physically see it, and it makes it all worth it.
It does. It really does. You hear this all the time. Like it's really hard for sure. But then being there, like even, I remember serving you and I remember serving like so many people. And
Yeah.
I thought to myself like, okay, I really hope, they really like it. I really am like paying attention. And so I remember the feelings on people's faces when they smiled and like that's really seriously what makes it worth it.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, I love that. That's so great. And I'm sure the feeling of like watching it grow over the last like 7 months or so has been really, really rewarding for you guys too, I'm sure.
Totally.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if people want to find you guys, how do they find you on social media?
Yeah. So
And
on
then,
social media, yeah, just look up Kavahana. We're
okay.
Kavahana Bar on Instagram and Kavahana on TikTok. But if you just look up Kavahana, you'll find us.
Awesome.
Um, yeah.
And if they want to order your Kava Nectar online, if they don't live in the LA area, what's your guys' website? And I'll also link your website as well in the description of the podcast too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's shop.kavahana.com. It's also in the link of the bio of all of our socials. So
And we ship to all 50 states and Canada. Hopefully, we'll open up to global shipping in the future, but just for now, US and Canada.
Awesome. That's great. Well, and I think most of my listeners are in the US, so that's perfect. So, yeah, I would encourage everyone to, if you live in the LA area, go to Kavahana. It's in Santa Monica. It's so much fun. It's amazing. And if you don't live in the LA area, order their kava online and try it at home because it really is so good. And it's such a fun social thing to do that's not alcohol and not coffee.
yes.
And I think the best thing you said, and I'm probably going to title the podcast this what you said, but that kava is what alcohol wish it could be. I love that line. I think that's so
I
great.
love it.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you guys both for taking the time to sit down with me for a bit and talk about kava and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you so much for inviting us. It was so nice to see you and talk to you on a little bit more of a deeper level. I've seen you around the shop like once or twice, but
Okay.
it's nice to actually get to talk to you and hopefully
Yeah,
come by again soon.
definitely. Yeah, hopefully next time we'll be able to like meet in person. So.
Yeah.
For sure. And we still remember like you telling us that you went dancing after, and that literally made our days when we saw it. So that's awesome. And we saw like a picture, a Polaroid of you and some of our bartenders, which I was like, what the heck? I thought it was so cute.
Yeah, well, and I think it's so cute that you guys are doing that little Polaroid idea. So, because, yeah, I was in for my birthday, so they're like, oh, we're doing this thing now where we're taking Polaroids for people's
Birthday
birthdays.
policy.
Yeah, that's so cute. I love it. Well, awesome. Well, I will see you guys around for sure next time I'm in, so I can't wait.
Yeah,
Cool.
thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to talk to you and be on this podcast, and can't wait to hear it.